Good morning, friends. I'm Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. Welcome to today's video. In today's video, I am going to show you how I did the veining in these flowers using a glass pen. So this is done with watercolor, and I'm going to try and show you very quickly how it's done. You have to work quickly, so make sure that your colors are nice and wet and ready to be used. And I'm using arches and a couple of brushes here. I've got my Da Vinci silver. This is a size 8. It's amazing the difference. These are two different brands. This is silver black velvet, and this is Da Vinci Casaneo, and they're both size 8s. And I have another silver black velvet in a size 4. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, and you can be messy with this, but like I said, make sure that you wake up your colors because you have to work quickly. So I'm going to use dirty water so that maybe you can see what I'm doing. But first thing I like to do, and of course you don't have to do this, but I like to draw a guide. So this is the center of my flower. And now I'm going to, with my water, draw some petals. And you may not be able to see this. I did try to use some dirty water so that you could, but let's see how it goes. Don't be afraid if your petals touch. It's okay. Just put down some petals with your water. And like I said, don't worry about the water touching the petal next to it. It's okay. But make sure it's nice and wet. If you're working on less expensive paper or less quality, not 100% cotton paper, then I recommend that you do one petal at a time, and that way your paper won't dry before you're ready to put down your colors. So keep that in mind. Okay, and I'm making this very basic because it can be time consuming. So I want it to be quick for the video. All right, so now I'm going to start picking up my colors, and I'm going to start dropping them in around the petals. And I've chosen a bunch of different reds and pinks for this. Got some yellow here. So because the paper is wet, the colors will blend together nicely. And I've even got a little purple. While this is all wet, I'm going to, let me pick up some more colors here just to fill this in a little bit. You could wait until the paper dries a little bit more so that you get a better bleed. This is really wet, and I'm actually using the back of a painting that I did earlier that I did not like. And this is a good time to reshape your petals if you don't like the way they look. You can just move that water and paint around and reshape your petals. So this is a fun exercise for the beginner. And of course, if you take your time, you can create some really beautiful flowers and use this technique. But I just wanted to show you the basic information on how to create this. Okay, so now we have the ink, rather the paint down for the petals. So again, work quickly. I'm going to put some water down here just to make sure that my center stays wet. And I'm going to put a little orange in here as well. So you can see I'm not trying to be too careful. I'm just putting the paint down, letting it blend together and do its own thing. Now this is where I use the glass pen. These glass pens are very inexpensive. You can find them on Amazon. I'll make sure to put a link down in the description box for the ones that I bought. And what you do is, while the paper is still wet, you start running the tip of the pen through the wet paint, and it collects and intensifies, like it looks darker where you write these lines. Now you have to be careful. Don't use a whole lot of pressure because these are very pointy and can tear your paper. So do be careful. Oh, and don't do that. Don't smudge like I just did. Darn it. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Okay, we'll pretend that didn't happen. Okay, so you can see how easy this is, just running the tip of this pen through the wet paint, how beautiful the effect is. And you can also use this to separate your petals if they're touching. Just make a line in the center, in between the petals. Now this is something that I recall doing when I was young, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me to do it with the watercolor now, but it's such a pretty effect and it's so simple. Okay, so now we've got that done. Let's do our center. Again, I'm going to keep it wet. And let's pick up a little bit of brown in here. A little too wet. I'm just dotting in the center. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And I'm going to let that color bleed into my petals. I'm going to pick up a darker, this is sepia. Of course, use whatever colors you like, but I just wanted to create a little shadow here at the bottom. So I'm making a little bit darker. I'm going to pick up a little orange. And finally some yellow. And my center is still a little too wet. So while that's drying a little bit so I can go back to it, let's do a leaf. So I'm going to put down some water in the shape of a leaf. And then I'll pick up some greens. Let's see, let's use a little sap green. Pick up a little yellow. Really, you're just letting the colors do the work for you. So just throw the colors down, let them do their thing, and move on. I think the less careful I try to be with this, the better it turns out. And I'm the type of person who has to make sure that I didn't miss any details, and with watercolor, that's not necessarily a good thing, especially when you're trying to work loose. I work better with more detail, tighter areas, and loose is a little difficult for me, but this is fun. Okay, so now we've got our leaf down. We're going to do the same thing. Run the tip of the glass pen through the center for the vein, and then we're going to create these veins. You can see how easy that is and how much fun. So now I'm just going to darken the center a little bit. Leave it alone. Okay, now I'm going to come back to the center. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow in there. And I'm going to try and add a little bit more detail around the center of my flower. But I'm just keeping it simple. I'm just using my brush to create the center. I'm just tapping with the tip of the brush around the center. I want that to blend in a little bit. And while it's still wet, I'm just going to try and drop in a little bit of green in here. But I'm not going to try and mix it because I don't want to get a muddy color. I'm just going to drop it in there and let it do its thing. So there you go. That is how I created the veining in those flowers that I posted on my Facebook page. If you like what you've seen and you've learned something new, please give me a thumbs up and drop a comment if you have any questions regarding the technique, or if you just like it and you want to let me know. Also, consider subscribing. Your interaction with my channel is very helpful and greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and check that description box for a list of all the items used in this video along with links. All right, everyone, enjoy your weekend. Bye.